Inspired by an iconic timepiece, this Guanqin is a homage to Longines Hydroconquest. The piece gets plenty of surprises up its sleeve that warrant you to proudly wear it on your wrist. For one, sapphire crystal, anti-reflective coating for clear legibility at most viewing angles, ceramic bezel with luminous engraved markings and numerals, 100 meters of water resistance, screw-down case back and a screw-in crown. And most importantly, it is an automatic hackable movement. Now I have actually managed to pick this piece up for just 65 bucks and it's not even sale time. So really sharp price for such an interesting watch. There are quite a few good things about it. So we mentioned the sapphire crystal, flat, it does get a date complication. No Cyclops, thankfully. Well, after all, it is a Hydroconquest homage. And the color here, that's the special. So it's got the purple, the suede kind of tinge to it, and of course the rose gold tinge. So the rose gold tone is here on the bracelet, on the bezel, it's on the crown as well, and it just looks unique. Very interesting watch. I do want to tell you all about it. So as I've mentioned, 65 bucks, and I will be leaving a link to the listing I got this watch from in the description below the video. So make sure to check it out if you want a sharp price. And now without further ado, let's get into the review of this Guanqin Sports Series watch. Dimensions wise, we get a diameter of 39.5 millimeters. The lug-to-lug length is 47.5 millimeters. The lug-to-lug width is 19.5 millimeters at the lugs and tapers down to 18 millimeters at the clasp. The height is just 12.4 millimeters. The weight is 140 grams, but that's after removing 4 links, so 2 links on either side of the bracelet, to fit my 6.5-inch wrist. Otherwise, the weight without removing any links is 165 grams. Now, this is a full stainless steel construction, case and bracelet. There are rose gold accents on the crown, bezel and center links of the bracelet. The case design is lean and robust. It's not larger than it needs to be. The flat case walls are polished while the lugs get the fine vertical brush styling. The lugs slant downwards aggressively, shortening the lug-to-lug measurement, so as we've seen it, it's just 47.5 millimeters. The bezel is planted on top and it's a very good fit. It actually slightly overhangs off the edges of the case, making rotation of it very convenient and efficient. But we'll touch on bezel action in a little bit. The threading is pronounced with deep grooves on the edges of the bezel, but the case and bezel edges have been smoothed, so nothing is sharp nor crude on the case nor the bezel. The bezel edge also gets a polished look, but in the rose gold tone. The 90-click chronograph bezel has a ceramic insert, and it's been thoroughly polished for an almost glassy effect. The markings on the bezel are actually luminous, and we'll test the brightness and longevity when we get to the dial section. On the side we get a signed and guarded screw-in crown. It's also in rose gold. The tip is polished and in line with the glossy polished surfaces on the sides of the watch. Underneath we get a screw-down stainless steel case back with the specs and logo engraved on it. Now it's time to talk about the bracelet, and well, on one side I like it, but still I think it's got some niggles which are, I don't really like, but then again, $65, what am I complaining about, right? Anyways, let me tell you all about it. The pushpin bracelet gets vertical brushing style in line with the case lugs. The bracelet links get the central elements in rose gold, as we mentioned earlier. The brush styling actually subdues the gold effect. Now to the niggles. So the tolerances are mediocre to good, and that's at best. There is some stretch to this bracelet almost out of the box. Also, considering I have a slender wrist of 6.5 inches, I have noticed that the watch gets 4 non-detachable links on either side of the case. As well as that, there's no micro adjustments on the clasp, meaning that this bracelet can't accommodate smaller wrist circumferences than 6.5 inches. In regards to the clasp, that's pretty cool. We do get a 2-button clasp, it's signed and milled, but there are no micro adjustments, and once again it makes it less convenient for finding the perfect fit. In regards to the dial, we get a very pronounced sunburst effect, As a result, the reflections are beautiful and quite severe. But luckily for us, the legibility is saved and warranted by the anti-reflective coating on the flat sapphire crystal. The mini track is backed up against the mirror-like rehaut. The hour indexes and numerals are applied and are actually edged in the rose gold chrome. We get baton, minute and hour hands, and the seconds lollipop are edged in rose chrome as well. The logo under the 12 o'clock position and the 2 lines of text above the 6 o'clock position don't clutter the dial. It's still very open, clear, and even the date at the 3 o'clock position doesn't seem to break the symmetry of this beautiful dial. If we look closely at the white dial of the date window, well, it's not out of place here. It's framed and is very neatly cut out in the dial. Right, and now it's time to do a lume test. Well, let's take a look at this. The dial lights up with two-tone lume on the dial and on the bezel. It definitely looks good for the initial couple of minutes, yet the longevity will not win any competitions, that's for sure. But then again, what do we expect for the sub $100 market? I don't really expect much more. I've seen better lume, I have, something that stays on for a bit longer. But then again, dual tone, the bezel, the dial, it does look pretty cool. Anyways, that's the lume. Now let's talk about the bezel. The bezel here is awesome. First of all, it actually aligns to the 12 o'clock position, thankfully. As I mentioned, the grooves are very deep and it's so easy to rotate this bezel. It just feels really nice, really solid. I like the resistance. It's not overwhelming, it's not too light. There is a bit of backplay, there is, but it's not major. It's, again, pretty good and decent bezel action. I really like the sound. It's very metally, very ratchety. It's good. It feels nice. So you can actually use this. Definitely. A bit of playback, but you know, we've seen it on items even way above the $100 mark. And I really like the way the top of the ceramic bezel insert is actually polished. It is very glass-like. In regards to the movement, we get Seiko NH35 with 21,600 beats per hour. Almost a smooth sweeping second hand with 6 beats per second. Another cool thing about the Seiko NH family of movements is that they get the magic lever, and what that means is that, let's say your watch stops, all you have to do is shake the watch side to side and it will start moving. Also, this movement is hackable, so that means when you pull out the crown to the second position, it will actually stop the seconds. So what can I say overall? Overall, for the $65 price mark, I think it's a definitely good buy. It's very recognizable, isn't it? We know what this looks like. It homages the Hydroconquest. And of course, it is an automatic. There are a couple of niggles with it, like with the bracelet, but again, it's not major as long as your wrist is over 6.5 inches in circumference. It's a nice case. I think the gold tone is done very beautifully here. It's not in your face. It doesn't look cheap. I think that's quite important to point out. Yeah, I think it's a solid watch. Now, for $100, not sure. For sub 100, goodbye. Anyways, thank you for watching this review of the Guanqin Sports series. So this is a homage to the Longines Hydroconquest. If you did enjoy the review, please drop me a like. If you want to see more of the same, you know what to do. Please hit the red subscribe button below the video. And I'll see you in the next one.